Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. You know, since I started the channel 2 years ago, I have been searching for answers. Some questions have been answered and then debunked. For example, the myth that narcissism is a form of mental illness. The top psychiatrists in the world have debunked this myth. All of them claiming, one after the other, this is not a form of mental illness. I don't need any more information than that. And I really don't even want to get involved in that type of narrative based on the number of absolute authorities in this area who have debunked that. Now, of course, as you know, the top authority in the world, his name is Dr. Robert Hare. He is the behavioral science professor at UBC. He is also the head of the psychiatry department at UBC, and that school is world-renowned for studies in both psychiatry and behavioral sciences. He is now retired. He has written several books, and Dr. Robert Hare, after an illustrious career, achieving the title as the world authority on narcissistic behavior, says they are not mentally ill, they are not human, they're interspecies predators. In fact, that's what he calls them, and I encourage you to check out the work of Dr. Robert Hare. Also a great American psychiatrist, Dr. Richard Gallagher, and I know many of you have heard of Richard Gallagher. Dr. Richard Gallagher has done a tremendous amount of work in the area of narcissism, and all you have to do is Google his name. Actually, his practice will pop up. And it clearly says that he specializes in narcissism, narcissistic abuse recovery, and exorcism. So this is a real change that's occurring within that profession. Dr. Caroline Leaf, I mean, I could go on and on and on. One after the other, world-renowned psychiatrists are changing the direction of their research, the direction of their practices based on the fact that they have concluded beyond a question of a doubt that these things are demonically possessed. And personally, that's what I saw. Demonic possession in itself is creepy enough. Like, woo, Jesus. But I have been having this feeling that we're still not quite on the right track. I think general consensus would be that the demon that possesses all of them is Jezebel, thus explaining the common thread, the similarities, the overwhelming similarities, the hive mind, the fact that they all seem to be playing out of the same playbook. You know, they're all the same. So Jezebel did make sense to me, and I guess the reason why Jezebel made sense to me was because it was God's most loathed demon. So I figured, well, they're pretty loathsome. Maybe it's Jezebel. But further research has led me to believe that it isn't Jezebel, and I'll tell you what triggered this in me. I recently met a gravely ill woman. Upon meeting this woman, she looked at me in such a way that it started to trigger memories for me. I mean, it was ghoulish, it was creepy. There was something about this gaze, this stare that she had. The stare almost, I'm going to call it almost a stare of fascination, of wonderment, but not in a good way. And so anyways, I meet this woman. She triggers this memory in me, and for the last 2 weeks, I have really been stuck on this gaze. Now, I know this gaze. I've seen this gaze before, and though I have encountered countless narcissists through this channel, it's always been online. It's always been in written communication. This woman was the first one that I actually met in person, standing, staring right at this woman. Absolutely felt and experienced that gaze, and it triggered this incredible, overwhelming memory in me. This is the gaze I remember on Trevor when we first met. This was the gaze that I clearly remember, but you got to keep in mind, at the time when I met Trevor, He was idealizing me. He was love bombing me. He was telling me, you know, my life would have taken a different direction had I met you sooner. You are the most incredible woman I've ever met. How did I live so long without you? My life is complete now that I found you. And all this narc nonsense, you know, and all of which seemed like a red flag to me. But he was making that strange and unsettling stare at me. Now, at the time, swept up in the love bombing, I definitely remember the stare. Like, the stare should have been a red flag. But what I think I was seeing at the time was a look of fascination, a look of wonderment. I mean, he's making this creepy stare at me and saying, you know, you're the most fabulous woman I've ever met. So I think I misinterpreted the stare for wonderment or fascination or admiration, something like this. Okay, so I meet this woman with the weird stare. It triggers a memory of Trevor having the weird stare, and I think to myself, this is weird. I need to figure out what this stare is. Now, I don't know what to call it, so I start Google searching, you know, creepy stare. Why people stare at people, narcissistic stare. Well, I'll tell you what comes up, and this is extremely fascinating to me. The evil eye. What is the evil eye? Well, I'd never heard of the evil eye, and I'm surprised I hadn't. Oh my God. When I consider all the research, all the directions my research has led me, and how I could have missed this one. Now, the evil eye is the direct result of envy. Now, we all know the difference between envy and jealousy. Jealousy is a very normal, very typical, basic human emotion in which someone, okay, for example, I'm sitting on my balcony, my neighbor drives up, he's got a brand new, shiny, red sports car, and I think to myself, damn, I like that sports car. I'm going to see if, you know, I can work a little harder, save some extra money so I can get myself one of those sports cars. That's what jealousy is, right? Where you see something, you want it. And in many ways, jealousy is quite a healthy emotion because it can spur people to work a little harder, try a little more so they can acquire these things that they're jealous of. Envy, on the other hand, now if I was an envious person, my neighbor pulled up in a red sports car, I might be thinking, who does he think he is? He doesn't deserve that. I want that. Not only does envy make the envious person want it, but it makes them want to take it from the other person. Where jealousy leads someone to want what someone else has. Envy not only makes them want it, but they want to take it from the other person. They don't want the other person to have it. And there's a very big difference there. Now, the evil eye research led me to the research of envy, which also led me to the 7 deadly sins. Now, coincidentally, there are the 7 most notorious demons, starting with Satan, the demon of wrath, Lucifer, the demon of pride, and of course the list goes on, and those list of demons coincide perfectly with the 7 deadly sins. Now, I'm going through each of the demons and their trait and the 7 deadly sins until I come to the 7 deadly sin, envy. Now, this is quite interesting to me because the evil eye led me to envy, which led me to the fact that there is actually a demon of envy. This demon's name is Beelzebub. Now, a little bit hard to pronounce. It's B-E-E-L-Z-E-B-U-B. Okay, so I start researching this demon. Now, this is quite unique because all the other demons have a trait, be it wrath or pride, gluttony, sloth, all of those. Okay, so whatever the 7 deadly sins are. But right now we're talking about envy. None of them have anything else associated with them except for Beelzebub, the envy, and this evil eye. So what is the evil eye? The evil eye was very fascinating because when someone is possessed by this demon of envy, envy is at the core of who they are. Having this core existence of envy causes in this possessed person the ability to cast this evil eye gaze. Now, the evil eye gaze has been well explored. I was actually mind blown by the amount of information that's out there about this evil eye gaze. And what it actually is a spell. It induces a hypnotic type trance on the target. Now, what sorts of things start to happen to someone who has had this gaze cast upon them? Well, let me tell you, holy shit. Amazing, actually. Okay, so I got to go back a bit. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Now, if one of these demon-possessed creatures, possessed by the demon of envy, has targeted you, it can be for any number of reasons. It can be for your perfect, flawless skin. It can be for your physical beauty. It can be for your figure. It can be for your career, your money, your home, your dog. It can be for the fact they have a bubbly, outgoing personality, or you possess certain character traits or skills or talents. It can be for any number of things. But when this demon targets you and puts this evil eye, gaze of envy on the target, it triggers really, really bad outcomes for the victim. For example, if what they were envious of was your flawless skin, the victim's skin can start to break out. If it was your career can start suffering. If it's money, well, they target and extract your money. Now, if you're a really well-rounded person, you are physically attractive, you're outgoing, you've got a great personality, you've got some hobbies, some skills, some talent, you've got a good career, you've got money, you've got a stable home, you've got a nice family, well, everything is going to be destroyed. Everything is going to be destroyed. How many of you have said, I felt like I was in a trance and my entire life was destroyed? I mean, every aspect of your life. Everything. I mean, do I need to list it all off again? I've listed it a million times. We know what it is. Our physical health is deteriorating. Our looks are diminishing. Our money's disappearing. Our careers are destroyed. We're isolated. We've lost our friends, our support groups. All of our hobbies are gone. All of the things that once made us feel alive have been extracted out of us. Now, it gets a little weirder than this, because this comment has come up over and over again during research, communicating with friends here at the channel, as we try and sort out what it is they want. Well, the same answer keeps coming up: our souls. Now, let's consider this. A soulless, demon-possessed meat suit wants souls. They're envious of our souls, because it is our soul that ignites everything else, that lights that fire, and it all glows out from there. It is your soul that is the most attractive to them. And from your soul, from that fire, glows your talents, your hobbies, your creativity, your personality, your sense of humor, the way you carry yourself. All of it is stemming from your soul. So it is ultimately the soul that this demon of envy wants. Now, how many of you have said to me, I felt like my soul was being sucked out of me? I'm telling you, I felt it. Like there was a soullessness about me. Like I felt like my soul had been extracted. Like I was just a balloon that had been blown up too big. The air let out, and just that crumply mess of nothingness. I felt like I was in a state of utter nothingness. Bleak. No ability to see beyond how horrible I was feeling, and every aspect of my life was absolutely tanked. Now, when you consider some of the character defects that are associated with envy, the first one, of course, is going to be an overwhelming sense of inferiority. Narcissists feel inferior. They live in an absolutely shame-based reality because they know they are defective. They know that they are not the superior being that you are. That is at the core of their issues. They are envious, And envy is the worst of the emotions. In fact, Beelzebub is considered one of the higher demons. Demons are categorized as higher, lower demons. One of the absolute top, most vile, most odious of all the demons. Envy is a horrible, horrible emotion for someone to harbor. And normal people do not harbor the emotion of envy. They maybe experience jealousy. People are often spurred on to want something, but it is not normal for any sane, emotionally sound person to want something so badly, but in addition to that, want to take it from someone else. This is absolute filth when it comes to character flaws. I mean, it really doesn't get much worse than this. This makes people dangerous. It makes them homicidal. It makes them extremely abusive. It's all of this that's stemming from the envy, I believe. And the envy is the result of their awareness that they truly are defective. They are not adequate as human beings. They are flawed. They are broken. And they hate it. They can't stand it. Now, when you consider the fact that they recognize that they're inferior, they hate and are bitterly envious of superior beings, people with souls, for example, people with the ability to love and feel compassion and feel connected to humanity. They can never feel connected to humanity. They cannot. They just don't have the character traits required, the human character traits required to connect on that level. And this creates that seething rage, that death fight, that narc injury, that butt-hurt situation that they just constantly seem to be in. The way they're so quickly triggered because they're always just skimming the surface of rage. Okay, so what does all this mean for us? Well, I'll tell you what it means for me. It absolutely gives me a heightened sense of awareness that I can't fight envy. Envy is the sickest of the most vile, most odious emotions. It spurs on the sickest of behaviors. Envy is absolutely the most unhealthy of all the emotions. It's not about them wanting something. It's about them needing desperately to harm someone and take what that person has, whether that is your physical health or your soul. They want to take things from you. And I don't want people like that in my life, and I know you don't want people like that in your life, and it actually gives me the ability to just throw in the towel. I'm done. I cannot fight that. You've got to realize that empaths, normal human beings, people with the ability to love and feel compassion, do not have the capacity for envy. They have the capacity for a healthier emotion like jealousy, but they do not have the capacity for envy. That is something exclusive to them. And I'm telling you, when I saw this evil eye gaze coming from this woman, man, did it trigger a memory for me. I know this gaze. And if you've seen this gaze of envy before, please leave a comment below. I also believe it is what put me in a bit of a hypnotic state, almost like a trance. Honestly, when I look back on some of the events with Trevor, it is so surreal to me, almost dreamlike. And I have to really, really focus to get back in that place, to get back in that emotional moment and really decipher what it was, because my initial memory of so many aspects of the relationship are very dreamlike. Of course, now I'm getting pretty good at projecting myself back so I can gather that information and share it with you guys. I'm just dying to hear your comments on this. Is this a possibility? Because we've certainly talked about Jezebel before, but this to me makes much more sense. And I think you'd all agree, when you're not even capable of the emotion of envy, well, it's very hard to understand it. And I've had to come to understand it in a really clinical sort of way. And it just really frees me up and lets me know this is not something I can ever have in my life. And when somebody is in your world that truly wants to take things from you, I'm really hoping this helps sever that soul tie that you're feeling, which I too believe is part of a hypnotic trance. Anyways, dying to hear your comments, guys. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I love you guys lots, and I hope you're having a great narc-free day.